Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. I am Chris, and of course, that over there, that is Mo. Mo, how are you this morning, sir?
I was jamming to the music, man. I was feeling it.
I was, just like a little elevator music to get us through the early morning routine here on the morning show. Come on
I
now.
kind of like that. That kind of breaks the mundane stuff. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. If you are joining us right now, thank you for making us part of your morning routine, whether it is live on Facebook or YouTube or on Roku TV, thanks to the fine folks over there at Northeast Sports Productions. We appreciate you being here, Mo. We have a packed show this morning. We got Will coming on in a little bit to talk some NBA basketball. We have the NFL genius himself coming on later on in the show to break down some NFL and a WWE tidbit. But Mo, before we get to any of that, let's start with this. This was making the rounds in the NFL rumor mill yesterday. And the Minnesota Vikings were real quick to come out and be like, no, we're not trading Justin Jefferson. Rumors started popping up late yesterday afternoon that not only were the Minnesota Vikings potentially entertaining trade offers for Justin Jefferson, but then another set of rumors began that Jefferson could be heading to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow.
Not going to happen, Mo. The Vikings have come out, much like the Las Vegas Raiders have come out, and said that we have no interest in trading our star receiver. We plan on him being here for the foreseeable future. And Mo, let's be honest. Why would you? Why would you trade Justin Jefferson? First of all, this is absolutely nothing against Justin Jefferson because I truly believe that he is one of the top 3 receivers in the NFL today.
Easy.
But let's be honest, the NFL draft has proven over the last 5 or 6 years that you can find not Justin Jefferson quality receivers anywhere in the draft, but you can find good to maybe slightly better than good receivers in the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th round of the draft.
It's proven.
So even if you were a team that was desperate for a quality wide receiver, I mean, maybe Kansas City's in that category, you wouldn't sell the farm to go get a Justin Jefferson. So I just, when the rumors came out, I thought it was ridiculous. It didn't make any sense on any part. It didn't make sense on the Chiefs' part. It didn't make sense on the part specifically the Minnesota Vikings, because why would you trade away one of the best receivers in the league when, let's be honest, you're going to be competitive next year for your division? Once you figure out your quarterback situation, if you're a Minnesota fan, I hope you're hoping Kirk Cousins comes back, unless they draft a quarterback or whatever they do there. But if you got a decent quarterback there, Mo, you're going to be in the playoff conversation. So why would you even consider moving Justin Jefferson?
You wouldn't, and for the reasons that you threw in there. Look, I don't know if Kirk Cousins is going to be back, because I think that he may very well just price himself out of Minnesota, because I'm sure he's going to want somewhat of a bag, even though he is coming off a major injury. And maybe
bag,
because
Mo. Give it to him. Give him the bag.
And look, even though he's coming off the injury, maybe he and the Vikings can meet somewhere in the middle, right? Maybe the deal is a shorter deal or something of that nature. If I'm the Vikings, though, I'm not entertaining trading away. We say top 3. He may be the very best receiver in football. That's how gifted a player Justin Jefferson is. You don't give away players like that, who, by the way, he's not even in his prime yet. He hasn't even hit his prime yet. So that's what's scary. Like you said, they were competitive, and they were running through different quarterbacks. Remember, for a while we were on the Dobbs train, and then another quarterback. So I think that competent quarterback play would make them competitive in the division. But if you get a healthy Kirk Cousins, I would say they have a legit chance to even win the division.
And Mo, I really, it bothers me, these narratives or these thought processes of, well, the Chiefs need a receiver. So who is going to be a trade partner with the No, why? The Chiefs have already proven they can win championships
right
without great pieces around them.
Right.
They won a championship 2 years ago with like 7 rookies on the defense, right? That was the year. Tyreek left. He went to the Dolphins. Your defense is basically all rookies. You're not doing anything in the playoffs this year. Oh, championship. And then this year was the year. Oh, another year without Tyreek. You definitely don't have any receivers on your team this year. Sure, the defense is a year older, but so is Travis Kelce. Man, he looks old out there. And you got to go on the road. You're not winning. You're not even getting there. Oh, they won a championship.
Right.
So
painfully,
why?
I remember that.
Right. Yeah, you were there. So why, if you are another team in the NFL, would you be willing to just give up elite talent to a team that already is winning championships without elite talent at that position? It makes no sense. It's the same argument I make of why would the Green Bay Packers last season give up their Pro Bowl left tackle because Aaron Rodgers needed a left tackle?
Correct.
It makes no sense. The same reason why would the Raiders give up their Pro Bowl wide receiver so he can be reunited with Aaron Rodgers to make a Super Bowl run? Unless you are presenting a trade offer that is so far and beyond what the player is worth, to the point where anybody would look at that and be like, "Ooh, you fleeced them. You got all that for him? Ooh." I don't know how you, unless that's the reaction, Mo. No. Because essentially you're saying, and in both situations, you are saying it, you want to win a Super Bowl. You think you need this piece, so we're just going to give it to you? And we're going to give it to you at fair trade value? Absolutely not. If you want to give us 2 kings ransoms, we'll think about it. But at the same time, why would you? Why? Who is in the business of making the Chiefs better? It wouldn't only be for this season, Mo. It would be for the next 5 or 6 seasons.
Right.
Chiefs would be exponentially better. Obviously, a little different in the Jets situation. Rodgers wouldn't be playing for the next 5 or 6 seasons. So for the Jets, you would basically, if you're the Raiders, you're basically conceding you might make a Super Bowl run this year. And if we were to face you in the playoffs, it could bite us in the butt this year. But we're not setting the Jets up for future success for the next 5 or 6 seasons if we were to trade them Devontae Adams. And the Packers would be like, we're not setting them up for the next 5 or 6 seasons. We're setting them up for a very short run. You trade Justin Jefferson to the Kansas City Chiefs, and you are setting them up. They're already set up for the next 5 or 6 years. You are further setting them up for the next 5 or 6 years. And it just doesn't make any sense. So I'm glad the Vikings came out right away and didn't say things like, no, we like Justin here, but we always listen to. No, they said, no, he's not going anywhere.
I hate when front offices go, we're entertaining offers.
Right.
You know, but nothing is, unless we're blown away, nothing's going to happen. But why would you even put that out there? I like how they came out. They were defiant. No, we're not trading him. Patrick Mahomes is already a cheat code. He's already a cheat code. You'd be giving the cheat code a cheat code.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean?
No need for it.
Why? So you're telling the rest of the league, like, well, don't even worry about how it's going to end. You know what I mean? Like, don't even worry about how it's going to end. And here's the scary part: if you're the Chiefs, or at least what I think, I'm on the outside, it would be great for them to get a Justin Jefferson, but I think they could get, let's call it, a solid wide receiver, and that would make them that much better. Like, I'm not even talking about one of the top 5 wide receivers. If they just got a guy who's really good, who can win a one-on-one, right? Who can win a one-on-one and is a reliable with his hands, you would be upgrading the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, I think that I look at them and they can make little moves to make them better, Chris. Travis Kelce still playing at a high level when he needs to. But what if they made a trade and they got someone who is not really he's a bigger name than he is a bigger game? What if they went out and they got a Darren Waller to complement Kelce as a second tight end because of his vertical speed? Would that not make them? Waller wouldn't be a star, but he would be impactful because you're putting him in that offense with Mahomes and Kelsey. So it's scary that they can improve upon a Super Bowl winning season.
Mo, all I gotta say is one name for you: Juju Smith-Schuster.
There you go, bring him back.
He played a year in Kansas City. Was he elite? No. Was he more than efficient in that offense? Absolutely. Did that earn him a ridiculously big contract that he never should have got with the New England Patriots? 100%. Do the Patriots regret giving him that money today? 100%. Because it's a lot different when you're in Andy Reid's offense and Patrick Mahomes is throwing you the football compared to when you were running whatever it is that you were in New England, whatever you want to call that offense, with Zappy or Mac Jones throwing you the football. It's a lot different for Juju. So I'm glad he got his money, and it was a mutually beneficial relationship, right? The Chiefs got what they needed out of Juju, and Juju got what he needed out of the Chiefs because it helped him land that contract with the Patriots. It's just unfortunate for Juju because it's not glory days over there in New England.
And it doesn't seem like it's going to be that for a long time. But look, Mayo's a young coach. He's ingrained in that community, in that franchise. I think it was the right move in terms of starting a rebuild. How that rebuild shakes out, that starts this offseason.
And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But right now, we're welcoming Will to the show. Will, we love having Will on here. He always talks some great NBA stuff with us. I'm stalling because some random thing popped up on my screen and I have to remove it before I can get Will onto the show. But right now, let's welcome Will to the show. This segment is brought to you by Sports Empire Network. If you're not checking out what's happening over at Sports Empire Network, please make sure you head over there and do that. But Will, how are you this morning, sir?
How you doing, guys? Thank you for having me on. How you guys doing?
Doing great, man.
Let me tell you, man,
it's been it's been bad since last night, man. It's been bad.
Well, there was nothing you could do about that. The Pistons were fired up. It didn't matter who they were playing after that Knicks game. They were going to find a way to win, and it just so happened your Bulls were the ones on the calendar.
Man, it's disappointing. It's disappointing. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
They came out with the fight of a million warriors, and the Bulls were just like, who are they?
Man, I tell you, that's just, we
got a lot of NBA stuff to get into this morning, gentlemen. Let's start with Damian. Yeah, Gene's backstage. NFL Genius, he'll be on here in a little bit. Yep. We got Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard came out, and he made I chuckled at it. We'll see what you guys thought of it. Damian Lillard was asked about how things were going with Milwaukee, and he was pretty candid. He said that he thought at this point in the season, the Milwaukee Bucks would kind of be what the Boston Celtics are. In case you don't know, the Boston Celtics are the best team in basketball, and they have like an 8 or 9 game lead over everybody else in the Eastern Conference right now, as they are looking to pretty much be in cruise control on the way to the number 1 seed heading into the playoffs. Will, let's start with you. When the Dame trade was made and you were kind of looking back over the landscape that was the Eastern Conference, was there ever a point in your mind where you thought the Milwaukee Bucks would be where the Boston Celtics are right now?
I thought they had the opportunity to do it, even though they took the hit on defense. I thought they still would be able to be elite because you're coming into a series where you have the Greek Freak, one of the better players in the league. You got Damian Lillard, one of the best offensive players in the league. I thought they had that opportunity to be there. Now, since then, we've seen the decline in defense, and you also see age and attrition on a roster that's old, getting ran off the court pretty much by these younger teams. They're kind of rounding their formation now, but I still think that's their weakness, is the fact that they can't hang with these younger teams in a push tempo. So, yeah, I had that thought initially after that trade happened. Also, yes, I could point to a healthy Chris Middleton. I thought that was going to be the point at when the season started, but once you saw that roster form together, and nah, they still need it. They still need help. They still need help. Right now, you got the Boston Celtics. Then you got the Cavs over them. Shout out to the Cavs for that big win they had last night. That 59-footer by Max Strus. Shout out to them. But yeah, I thought that there would be initially, but now that you watch him during the season and the coaching changes and how Doc isn't really a leader, a man, more of a rah-rah guy, yeah, they're going to get to the playoffs, but I think that's it. Maybe second round is as far as they go, in my opinion.
Mo, do you have any issue with what Dame said? He was obviously very candid. He's obviously opening the door to the fact that he might be a little disappointed with where the team is right now, or at least maybe disappointed isn't the right word. Maybe we just thought we'd be better than we were, and we're still trying to figure it out. Any issue with him being that candid in that situation?
No, I look, I think he was being honest. He was having an honest moment. And look, maybe the team and the organization probably wish he wasn't being as honest. But I'm where Will is on this, that the Dame trade, when they acquired him, it was a bigger name splash, but I didn't think it was the right move. Again, that move doesn't happen though if Giannis doesn't go, yeah, we need to make that move. Giannis,
Exactly.
that move doesn't go through
Exactly.
if Giannis doesn't co-sign on it, because everything goes through Giannis, and he co-signed on it. What I thought was, by making that move and pairing those two players, it's one thing to try to wade through the regular season with pressure and expectations. Damian Lillard's been in Portland for the better part of a decade with next to no expectations or pressure. And I get it. He's saying, I think we would have been better, but I also think that he's admitting I would have been better. I think he thought I would have been better. He hasn't had one of his better statistical seasons, and it's not because Giannis is such a great player and takes up a lot of the opportunities. It's because Dame hasn't shot the ball well. He hasn't. He has struggled. And a lot of times we go two-way versus impact. So there's guys that are known as two-way players versus, say, a guy like James Harden, but James Harden in his prime had a bigger impact than, say, the two-way player. Dame used to be kind of like that. I don't think he's having the impact to offset what Drew Holiday did for them. They were going to say, we're not going to be as good on defense, but we're going to be so great on offense, you won't feel the difference. They haven't been that great on offense. They were old before Dame came into the picture. If you haven't seen what Miami did to them last year, a lot of that had to do with, yes, Miami was on a run, but I've said it before. Milwaukee is one of the, if not the most unathletic team in the NBA. You take Giannis out of the equation, and they don't have any athletes. They have no quickness on the perimeter, and they have nobody that can get their own shot on that roster other than Giannis and Dame. And that's why their offense struggles and is stagnant at times. Defensively, put them in space, speed up the tempo, and they're in trouble.
And I didn't mean to cut you off, Mo. I just want to say, because of Dame's defensive deficiencies, they made that Pat Bev trade look good, or that Pat Bev signing look good. And that's a damn shame, because y'all know I can't stand Pat Bev.
Right. And I think the Pat Bev sign is a good thing for them.
It is.
I still think they're a second round exit. They are not where the Celtics are. And look where Drew is. Drew goes to the Celtics. He is literally the fifth option on offense. And he's good with that because they're winning. You know what I mean? Like, chemistry matters, professionalism matters. So Drew's averaging probably, I think his lowest point per game around 13 or 14 a game in the last few seasons. But that shows you how deep the Celtics are.
Yep.
You've got two guys who can give you 25 or 30 on a given night with Brown and Tatum. Porzingis is giving you over 20 a game. And then you've got Derek White and Drew hounding everybody on the perimeter. Look, I can't predict how it's going to come out, but I think there's a big gap between the Celtics and the Bucks.
Agreed.
Will, is there anything to give Bucks fans a little bit of hope this morning? Is there anything once playoff time comes that you can see this Bucks team doing as currently comprised to go on a run? Because we've seen Miami go on runs in the playoffs, right? Miami was an 8th seed, and they went on a run, and they didn't play like an 8th seed. Is there anything you think this team has in the tank where once the playoff basketball begins, there is another gear they could find?
No, I don't think there's another gear they'll be able
to
find.
No hope. He's giving no hope.
So. I don't think so.
That was pretty definitive, Will.
I don't think so. I really don't. I just think the rest of the league has caught up offensively. We'll get into that a little bit later. The rest of the league has caught up offensively, and because of the league's improvement, particularly in the East, with the way Cleveland's been stepping up, the way Boston's been stepping up,
New York.
That makes older teams who can't run, who only has one playmaker, two really with Damian Lillard, but like I say, and you pointed it out, Mo, he's struggling with his shot right now. So you only really have one playmaker on that team. So no, I don't think they do. I mean, and plus you got Doc Rivers as your coach. So with Doc Rivers as your coach, that just eliminates all hope. And people keep telling me I'm a Doc Rivers hater. Not so much as a Doc Rivers hater. Look at his track. Look at his track record. Look at his track record. What does he do to give you hope for any team that he coaches? Anything past the second round, you can't trust him.
Well, I would say you're a Doc Rivers realist. I wouldn't say you're a hater. Just keeping it real on Doc Rivers.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's like Gene in the chat knows where we're going. We're talking a little Golden State Warriors next. Will Warriors and Lakers, they're at the bottom of the Western Conference right now as far as making it into the play-in game. The Lakers have been playing consistent 500 basketball as of late, whereas the Warriors have been playing more winning basketball as of late to get themselves into that 9th and 10th position. Obviously, those are two big names, namesake-wise. When the playoffs come, assuming both the Lakers and the Warriors make it and they're in that play-in position, or maybe one jumps up to 6, who is going to have the better playoff run this season based on what you've seen the last month or so and what you think could transpire over the next month or so?
I like Golden State better. I trust Golden State more personnel-wise. Chris Paul's a vet. Listen, has he been the most consistent vet in the world, particularly down in the later rounds of the playoffs? No. But you got Steph Curry there. You got a better coach than Steve Kerr. So I trust Golden State a little bit more than I do the Lakers. I'm shocked Darvin Ham is still there. But because of the injury history with AD, because of the lack of depth that the Lakers have, you've gotten nothing from Hachimura. You got nothing from Woods. Austin Reeves is in and out. So I think the Warriors will have a better playoff run than the Lakers.
Mo, Lakers, that's your team, my guy. How are you feeling about the Lakers entering the playoffs? How do you specifically feel about a run they could make as compared to a run the Warriors can make?
I think the Lakers will make the playoffs. I don't think they're going to have the run that they had last season. I think last season, that's what it was. It was a run, and it was a great run, but I don't think it was the start of something. So I do think if you were going to choose between the Warriors and the Lakers, I still think that the current version of Golden State is they're a bigger threat to beat a higher seed. One, let's not forget, Kuminga has actually played well. He's averaged over 20 points a game for most of the stretch. Yep. Andrew Wiggins has averaged 16 a game, which it's not quite what he was, but he's actually having an impact on games again. He's impacting games defensively. Draymond's back doing what Draymond does defensively and as a playmaker. Klay off the bench has been much better than Klay as a starter. So I'm looking at Golden State, and I think that this team, provided they can remain healthy, they're going to be the scariest team if you're a top seed to meet in the first round. Like I heard Steph say this, and when he said it, I echoed it. I said, when they get in, because they're going to get in, they're going to be a tough out. I think Golden State is one of those rare teams that, like Miami did last year, it would not stun me if the Warriors were in the conference finals when it's all said and done.
Me neither. Because again, when you're looking at and you talk about Andrew Wiggins, it looks like he's getting over his mental issues. There's nothing wrong with him physically. I think it's all in his head, but now he's getting over his mental issues, becoming more productive. Kuminga's getting more time. Also, you got Klay Thompson coming off the bench for the most part. So I think that kind of helps too with the rotation.
Deeper too, Will. Don't forget the young man Brzezinski's getting a lot of minutes. He's been very productive.
Yep.
I think that their young players have come on, and they've made it to where the vets don't have to play as many minutes, and they're taking a lot of the workload that Steph was carrying the early part of the season. He's going to be fresher down the stretch because of Kuminga, because of what Klay is doing off the bench, what Wiggins is doing. So, like I said, I'm not rooting for the Warriors, but just taking a real even-handed look, they're scary.
Yeah, they are. They really are.
Gentlemen, after the fallout of Big Mad Monty and what happened to the Detroit Pistons a couple of days ago, the NBA has come out, and a report from Sham says the NBA's competition committee has officially begun reviewing whether the game has become too advantageous for offense and whether some changes need to be implemented to achieve better balance. Apparently, Will, that was the tipping point. Big Mad Monty was the tipping point for the NBA to be like, well, hey, we'll look into it and get back to you. Will, is this just the NBA coming out and trying to simmer down the unexpectedly wild crowd that came from the Detroit Pistons game where they kind of got screwed on a call? Is this just the NBA saying, oh, we'll look into it and we'll let you know, and really they don't give a damn?
Really, because I think this is the NBA talking smoke. I really think that's what this is. You started all this years ago when you wanted to draw more fans, more corporate organizations, make them attractive to come to the games. Offense. Nobody, coming into the 2000s, all of a sudden didn't want to see these defensive teams. Everybody knows who they are. You had the Pistons back in the day. You had the Bulls back in the day who made it look a little bit more enticing. You had the Knicks with their rougher style, even the Heat. So no one wants to see that style. Everybody wants to see offense. Okay. Now you mean to tell me you're going to all of a sudden turn back the clock and go back to that? Or at least look into it. After you benefited for how many years with this same offensive mentality for the league? No, they're just talking smoke. They're not going to change.
It's been about 20 years, right?
Yeah.
It's been about 20 years. Remember, this started with the aftermath, I believe, of the 03-04 series where the Pistons pretty much just locked the Lakers down physically. Like there was one game, and I won't forget it, where the Lakers scored 65 points.
Yep.
And Mark Cuban, who was part of the competition committee, got everybody together. And Mark Cuban said, we've got to find a way to free up the talented players from being hampered by less talented players with physical play. Because that is what the 90s were.
Yep.
The less talented guys balance the scales by being physical and intimidating the more talented players. And so they did that. What happened? Those rules went into effect. Not the next season, but the season after. We saw the aftermath. And the funny thing is, karma's a funny thing. 06 finals, Dwayne Wade shoots 100 free throws against Cuban's Mavs. And the league takes off from there. That is the birth of the current NBA that we have now, where you can barely touch anybody. If an offensive player initiates contact in this current NBA more times than not, they're going to the foul line, even if they initiate the contact. Or if you touch them or impede their way when they're cutting off the ball, that's a foul. They're going to the foul line. Look, I'm with the idea that you realize, okay, we've let offense get a little bit out of hand. I'm not sure how you pull that back, because I'm sure you don't want to. You're not going to want to bring back hand checking because that would be too much.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the middle ground is. We could go with the old let them play, but what would let them play look like?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
We saw that. That was the Pistons game. They let them play.
Oh, you mean the DiVincenzo shiver? Yeah, that is letting them play. That is letting them play. I want the game to be a little bit more balanced between offense and defense. I'm not sure what the quick fix is on that, though.
But let me ask you a question, though, because you had back in the day, you had specialists that actually were defensive specialists back then. You really don't have that now, because everybody is so geared to the offensive side of it. No one really looks at the how can I say, the art of playing defense in the league, making sure your footwork is good, making sure you stay in front of your man. No one's really doing it. Whereas back in the day, you had defensive specialists who did that stuff.
To be fair, well, though, it's harder now in today's game, because if you got a guy who's a defensive specialist, but he's not a scoring threat, they expose that guy on the other end of the court and go, we're not guarding him. That's a self check. And that's the problem. It's hard for a specialist, if they can't shoot, to stay on the floor. That's why there's such a big value for the 3-and-D guys because they
So-
shoot well enough to stay on the floor.
So with that, what you just said right there, with the fact that we've so geared to offense, no defensive specialists. There's no defensive specialists out there anymore. So with that being said, with your offensive personnel, there's no way you can turn this clock back. No way you can turn this back.
I think it's good talk and it sounds good. I don't think they can really make significant changes. And look,
No,
because Silver's such a players commissioner, let's all agree on this. As soon as he brings up, like, yeah, we're gonna let you guys be more physical, the players are gonna go, I don't think so. I don't think so. And then Silver's gonna go, you're right, guys. You're right.
AD gonna get
In all
mad.
fairness, he said he was just reviewing it. No one said changes were going to be made. He's going to look through it. He's going to say, yep, it is more advantageous. He's going to see the money the league's brought in the last 20 years.
Exactly.
And be like, all right, review complete. We looked into it and we're ready to move on.
Into it, and I
That's
see
all.
no foul, no harm, no foul.
Nothing to see here, guys.
Nothing to see here. We're gonna keep everything the way it is. Walking turnstiles all the way to the basket.
Will, we love having you on here every Wednesday, sir. Thank you so much for being a part of the morning show this morning.
Will.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me on. Y'all have a good morning. Take care.
And that's exactly what it's going to be, Mo. They're going to be like, yeah, we looked into it, and we think everything is good.
What do they do when they come out with those statements, Chris, when they go, well, after a thorough review? You know what I mean? They try to make it seem official, and they go, but we're actually not going to change anything.
At this time, we feel it's in the best interest of the
Right.
league
There you go.
to maintain our current position.
Exactly.
Speaking of the best position for a league and the best position for teams, Mo, you know what happens during draft season. You get a lot of smoke and mirrors, right? You get a lot of people saying things. You don't know what's true. You don't know what's not true. And it seems like that started yesterday with the New England Patriots and the Washington Commanders, who are picking 2 and 3 in the NFL draft. Now, we'll talk to Gene in a little bit when he gets here, because there are new reports about the Atlanta Falcons and what they're trying to do. And I know I can tell right now, Gene is going to have a big smile on his face when we discuss that report. But if the Atlanta Falcons trade for Justin Fields, and obviously the number 1 pick isn't a question because we know what's going to happen with it. But if the Atlanta Falcons do not trade, there is the assumption that the number 1 pick is going to be moved. But now the Commanders and the Patriots, it has been leaked, and we know how this works, Mo. Now they seemingly want to move down in the draft. Now there's talk that both Washington and New England are going to look to move down in the draft, collect some draft capital, forego potentially getting a franchise quarterback that early in that spot, and then progress from there. Now, if this was the old Washington Redskins, I'd say, sounds about right. You're just going to pass up on getting a franchise quarterback and go see what happens later on.
Right.
Patriots, I look at it and I'm like, I don't know if the Patriots would do that. But at the same time, everyone says a lot of things at this time of the year. So are you buying that both of them are truly considering passing up on drafting a quarterback at 2 and 3 and moving down in the draft?
No, I'm not buying both of them for Phil. Maybe one of them. I'm hoping that this is not the same old Commanders. I'm hoping it's not that group. You would think that the people that they've put together, that they've comprised, that they would make wiser decisions. Look, if you have an opportunity and you're in need of a quarterback, which both of those franchises are, this idea that we'll drop down and maybe we'll find another guy further down and then we'll get some capital and build out the roster or something of that nature, I think that's the wrong way to go. I do. Your New England, you've got a rookie coach, a first-year coach. You need to set this guy up for success. Now, the NFL genius has said the mugs are on their way. They exist. You know where I'm going. You need to set Mayo up for success. You need to get him his bride. You need to marry the coach and the quarterback. You need to set him up for the next decade or so. So I don't agree with that. Maybe the Commanders are thinking that way, but there's no way both of those franchises are of that mindset. I don't believe that.
And I agree with you. If 2 quarterbacks go ahead of you, so let's say that the Bears draft Fields, Williams, they trade away Fields, and then Washington takes a quarterback at 2. If you're the Patriots and you're like, we don't really love the third best quarterback in the draft as much as we love the first 2, I can see why you would move down a little bit. Because maybe in your mind, you're thinking, I'll make a trade with someone who's not going to take a quarterback. I'll make a trade with someone who really wants a wide receiver, and they want their pick of the litter of the wide receivers in the draft. And maybe you drop down strategically 4, 5, 6 spots to where you're thinking you're still going to have a chance to get one of 2 quarterbacks that you like, but you just didn't like them that much at 3. So in your mind, you're saying, I'll get a little capital, let someone take Marvin Harrison Jr. or another wide receiver in the draft at 3, and I'll come get a quarterback at 7 or 8 or whatever the case might be. I can see that happening because that isn't you passing up on a franchise quarterback.
It's not.
That's you saying, I don't value the 3rd quarterback in the draft as the 3rd overall pick. I think they're more of a lower top 10, just outside the top 10 pick. So that's where I'm going to go with it. I can see that happening. Can I see both of those teams being like, no, we're not going to give up the farm to go get Caleb Williams or Drake? No. At the end of the day, Mo, when you are faced with the option of potentially having the quarterback or not having the quarterback, most NFL teams are going to roll the dice in the heat of the moment and try to get the quarterback. Because we all know how the story writes itself when you don't have the quarterback. So if you have a chance to get it, you're going to take the chance to get it.
And if you don't get the quarterback, it's one of those stories that it literally changes careers.
Correct. Also, fun fact, yesterday, and you might appreciate this, Mo, some small trade talk started to emerge out of Dallas for Mr. Trey Lance. Mr. Trey Lance's name is popping back up into I know, right? He is still in the league. I know we haven't spoken his name since he was traded to the Dallas Cowboys. But there is apparently some rumblings. Maybe Dallas is trying to create a trade market for Trey Lance and see if a team wants to take a flyer and throw a draft pick Dallas's way. Interesting name to think about as we get closer to the draft and everything that comes with it. But right now, the man himself, the NFL genius from Wire to Wire sports podcast, Gene, is coming our way. Gene, how are you this morning, sir?
Good morning, Gene.
I'm phenomenal. I'm doing really well. I've seen the Atlanta reports that you were talking about. And by the way, Raheem Morris did Desmond Ridder no favors.
No.
That was one of the funniest lines I've heard a coach say in a press conference. He goes, well, they had good quarterback play. I wouldn't be here. Wow.
You know, Desmond's like, well, no, he wasn't talking about me. He was talking about the other guy, Heineke, Taylor. Come on now.
I was floored. That was funny.
So, Gene, we'll touch on that real quick. The reports are not just that the Falcons are interested in Justin Fields. The reports are the Falcons are actively engaging Chicago in talks because Atlanta wants to get the deal done. So if the reports are to be true, not only is there interest, but Atlanta seems to be pushing the ball forward because they want to make it happen so they can start setting up the rest of their offseason once they potentially get their guy. Gene, just speculate for me. What does compensation for Justin Fields look like in your mind?
2 seconds. I think that he'll end up getting 2 seconds or a second and a third, maybe a conditional like third that turns into a second. I don't think they'll value him as a first-round draft pick. He's on the final year of his rookie contract. They can pick up his 5th-year option. But, yeah, I don't think that the compensation for him will be anything more than a second and a third or 2 seconds. Now, you see quarterbacks being overvalued. I think that's a little overvaluing him price tag-wise because you're not getting him on the full rookie contract. You're going to have to pay him soon. But I think it'll be a second and a third or 2 seconds.
Gene, before we get into the rest of our NFL discussion today, I did tease that there was going to be a WWE tidbit for you, and we are going to do that right now. Earlier this week, and this is very interesting, former WWE superstar Ryback, who, by the way, is absolutely crazy. If you watch anything that Ryback does on social media, at times he seems unhinged, and at other times he seems really, really insightful. Ryback was on Rene Dupree. That's a name from the past, a blast from the past, if you will. Rene Dupree has a wrestling podcast, and Ryback was on there, and they were discussing Vince McMahon and his situation that he is in. And that opened the door for other stuff that we don't know about that could still be coming out. Obviously, the Vince situation has led to some allegations regarding Stephanie McMahon Helmsley and whether or not she was involved in a cover-up with the Ashley Massaro incident that took place overseas at one of the troop shows. So that's currently what Stephanie is dealing with. And now apparently, according to Ryback, and this was confirmed after he left the show by Rene Dupree and his co-host, who also is a wrestler in the business, there are apparently two stories out there, one involving Triple H and Caitlyn. Apparently something happened with them. We'd have no details as to what it was, but Rene Dupree kept referring to the fact that there were some marriage issues with Triple H and Steph during that time, and then something happened with Triple H and Caitlyn. Fill in the blanks as you will. And then apparently there is a story involving John Cena and Alex Riley of The Miz fame. A-Rai was paired with The Miz when Miz had his first WWE Championship run. And we have no details on the story between John Cena and Alex Riley, except for the comment that Rene Dupree made on his show that if this ever came out, and he confirmed that he has heard the same story about John Cena and Alex Riley, and his co-host confirmed he has also heard from different people the same exact story. And they both acknowledged if this ever came out, this would negatively impact in a major way, in their opinions, John Cena's current career in Hollywood, based on whatever this story happens to be. So, Gene, as you know, as a sports fan in general, when you open Pandora's chest, regardless of what it is, oftentimes more comes out than just the one thing you were opening the chest to get into. So when you're opening the world of Vince McMahon and the shady, underhanded stuff he has done, you are most likely going to find other shady, underhanded things within the chest that aren't even directly tied to Vince McMahon, and that seems to be what is happening now. Now, the one thing we love multiple things about Gene here on the morning show, but one of the things we really like about Gene is that he always tends to bring clarity and levity to situations. And that is why, Gene, I am presenting this topic to you this morning. Obviously, it's all rumors right now. Nothing has been confirmed. No one actually alleged being involved in it has commented on anything. Nothing from Triple H or Caitlyn or Stephanie. Nothing from John Cena or Alex Riley. People have reached out to them, and they have basically just said, wrestling is crazy. Rumors fly around all the time. I don't pay attention to that nonsense. Obviously, they're going to say that. Whether there's a story or not, they're going to say that. Gene, do you think we are going to end up getting more from this Vince McMahon situation that's not even tied to Vince, that is potentially going to rightfully or wrongfully take other people down? Or do you think this is just rumors are rumors? We're always going to hear rumors, and this is just going to die down, and we're just going to move on in a few weeks?
So it's funny, and this is going to be a really extreme comparison, but like when I read it and I listened to it, like it's exactly the first thing that came to my mind. Did you think that you were going to get more out of Jeffrey Epstein being arrested than what you got out of from his island? If you hang around with people that have terrible character and that do terrible things, and you're around them and you're being pushed by them, like Triple H and John Cena were, you're going to find out more and more things about those people's character. You don't watch things like that happen or know that things like that are happening and sit back. It's like, that's why I think CM Punk leaves this situation smelling like roses, because he basically told Vince who he was and Triple H who he was, and in that situation, right? I think that you're going to hear some really bad stuff that comes out, and it doesn't shock me. It doesn't surprise me. And I think it can be a little of both, right? Ryback's sour grapes, and he's been trashing the company since he's left, and he's looking for any opportunity to paste any rumor out there to trash the company. But it also could be true. And I think it's more likely than not that there's a lot of bad things that happen. When there's a lot of millionaires in one building, and there's women, and there's situations that have happened with scandals, it's normally not just one person. I know Vince was a bad egg, but it's not like it was just Vince. Brock Lesnar's already been implicated in a lot of this stuff. And I think that you're going to find out that Cena, Triple H, and by the way, do you notice that Triple H doesn't like ever go in those press conferences trashing Vince?
Oh.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about it, blah, blah, because you know there's a lot of skeletons in your closet that Vince could bring out.
And Mo, let's not be naive. And this was also referenced on the Rene Dupree show. NDAs are a real thing.
Yep.
And obviously we don't know where they are. We don't know who has them. We don't know who signed them. So this could be a situation where it never is ever truly confirmed, because it could be a situation where the people involved literally cannot legally talk about it, right, because they have signed away that ability in return for whatever they got at the time, or whatever the corner they were pushed into at the time, whatever the situation might be. So this could literally be a situation where it's rumored and we think it happened, and that's how it sits for the next 10 or 15, 20 years. And we never find out the actual truth because we can't, because the people involved can't actually ever talk about it.
Correct. And to Gene's point, look, I think that when you're in the same orbit as somebody like Vince, there's going to be collateral damage. There is. If you've got any dirt, like you said, it might be all about Vince, but your stuff's going to come to the light, and your character or lack thereof is going to come to the light. So I do think that as more information comes out, I think this is going to impact a lot of careers, and you're going to look at a lot of stars who we're all fans of one way or the other, but you're going to look at them differently as people. And Vince is one of those, look, he's one of the ultimate scumbags, but you've been in the company of that scumbag. And even if you can say with a straight face, I didn't do anything, right? But if you knew what was going on and you didn't say or do anything, you're just as bad or worse, because you're a witness to that. And you could have been a hero. You could have stepped up and done something, and you just chose to not say anything at all. I think that more and more people are going to be brought into this, and more families are going to be harmed ultimately.
And Gene, let's not pretend that The Rock joining the board is nothing. Let's not ignore the business side of this. The Rock is now part of the board that controls WWE. The Rock is bringing in his own people and his own writers, and you're seeing that happen on WWE TV. Let's not pretend that what's happening right now with The Rock couldn't have future implications on how this company is structured. Because, Gene, as you know, when it comes to business, when there are powerful people involved in business doings, there's a chance things get shooken up.
Listen, you can go back all the way to the Penn State situation with Joe Paterno, knowing about what happened, and it got reported to him, but he never went out and did anything. And I get it. This isn't like kiddie porn or child molestation, but when you know, you're partially guilty. And when you don't say anything and you don't step up for what's right, there's a lot of implications that will happen through that.
Let's jump back to the NFL here. So some people may forget, if you're a New York Jets fan, you probably don't forget, but McCole Hardman was on your team for part of the season last year. It didn't work out, and you let him go, and he went back to the Chiefs, and he won a Super Bowl. No big deal there. Hardman came out earlier this week, and he talked about the offensive woes of the New York Jets, and he said, quote, "There's no standard there. Everybody does what they want to do." Now, Gene, clearly he doesn't have sour grapes. He was cut by an organization and then got to win a championship with the Chiefs. So it's not like, at least on the surface, that he should be angry at the New York Jets. Maybe he wasn't a fan of how he was treated there, and that could be why he has a negative connotation. Or maybe, Gene, he's just being honest, and the Jets are a circus, and he's just saying the Jets were a circus. What do you take face value from Hardman's comments about the New York Jets?
I mean, can it be everything? I think Mecole Hardman is a little bit delusional. Listen to him on that interview. He said, "Oh, I'm better than everybody on that team that's not Garrett Wilson." And then he talked about how he was, he's a winner and he knows how to win, and the other people on the team don't know how to win. I would argue Mecole Hardman's a winner based on circumstance, not based off anything he's done. And then the other part of it is, yeah, I don't think that there was any structure on the offense because they didn't plan on their franchise quarterback, who also doubles as their offensive coordinator, to go down. When Peyton Manning ran an offense, we gave Adam Gase a head coaching job. It's not Adam Gase's offense. It's Peyton Manning's offense. Aaron Rodgers runs his own offense. Yeah, he's going to control what happens on the field. That's what happens when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback that understands everything about what's going on the field. So I don't disagree with what Mikal said. I don't think there was a system. I think Nathaniel Hackett's a terrible coach. I think he's perfect for Aaron Rodgers because he allows Aaron to do Aaron. But when Aaron Rodgers went down, Mecole Hardman's probably dead right. You had guys that Aaron was friends with that were higher than him on the depth chart that just aren't those guys. Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard. I get it. I'm not disagreeing with what he said. But for him to be like, oh, I'm a winner, and I know this isn't going to work because I'm a winner. Bro, I don't think you've had more than 45 catches ever in your career in a season. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think 43 is his high water number. It's not you that's winning these Super Bowls. You're a Super Bowl or a college, and even in college, by circumstance, by being around the right players in the right situations. Let's not pretend that Mecole Hardman was a cornerstone player to that Chiefs run. I don't agree with that one bit. And I also think that when you lose your franchise quarterback week one, a lot of plans go out the window. You're not really preparing for that. I think he's delusional, though. I think that him talking about how they should have relied on his winning pedigree and like he should have been helping them run the offense is kind of ridiculous.
Mo, if you are a fan of the Carolina Panthers, I think there's like 12 of them out there. The Panthers are rewarding you for your loyalty in coming to the games last season when nobody else was, and they're rewarding you by increasing their ticket prices by 4%. Now, Mo, I know what you're thinking. 4% on top of 89 cents isn't that big of a deal, right? I mean, 89 cents, 4%, you're still probably paying less than $1 to go to these games. But Mo, how? I mean, we know how. The Panthers are a poorly run franchise.
They are.
But how did someone not say, well, wait a minute, guys, we were the worst team in the league last year. Our owner's throwing beverages at people. Everyone knows that a lot of our games towards the end of the season, tickets were like $1 a piece. We're going to raise our ticket prices by 4%. Like the only person in the room that could have thought that was a good idea was the owner. I can't imagine anyone else was, at least internally. I'm sure there's a lot of yes men around him, but I can't imagine anyone else was like, yeah, we should probably do at least 4. Can we do 6? We can do 4. Okay, well, we'll settle on 4. We don't want to gut the fans, Mo.
Don't you pay people for PR? Like you have someone whose job it is to make the franchise look better. Like their goal is to reach out to the fan base, ingratiate themselves, bring the fans, give the fans a reason to want to be part of your franchise. And this owner has found a way to push fans away. I don't understand that. And you're right. If an owner is going to throw things at fans, I'm sure there's no lack of yes men because they're afraid to get something thrown at them. I want this franchise to get itself together because, look, I do want Bryce Young to be able to turn his career around and become a star in this league. But we talk about this a lot in all sports. A lot of times it does have a lot to do with where you get drafted, the environment that's around you, and how you're set up for success or failure. And I feel for this young man because I think that he's on the Titanic. And I don't know if he's ever going to reach the surface because the leadership starts at the top, and they don't have leadership at that franchise. And it's just sad all the way around. If you're a football fan of the Carolina Panthers, I don't know what you have to look forward to.
The 4% pay hike that they're making is off their regular ticket sales. And I know the 89 cents was a joke, but that was secondhand. That's how low people were selling their tickets for because they wanted to get out of what they paid for because they were promised a better environment or a better team to be on the field. They just had the first overall pick. They had Bryce Young. They had a new coach, and they ruined it. And I think they ruined it when the offense, every offensive mind that they hired wanted one guy and they drafted another. You can't do that. So when you hire Frank Wright, Deuce Staley, and Josh McCown, and they all say we want CJ Stroud, we're all here on CJ Stroud. Like, well, we're going to draft Bryce Young because that's what we want to do. You're going to have friction. Now, do I think Dave Canales can revive Bryce Young's career? Maybe. But I think it's a really terrible PR move to raise prices after a season that you just had.
Gene, before you get out of here, I want to talk about the running back market real quick. The running back market this offseason, there's some names on there. Austin Eckler, Tony Pollard, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley,
washed.
DeAndre Swift, Zach Moss, A.J. Dillon, J.K. Dobbins. I think those are the biggest ones out there. Gus Edwards is on there as well. Are we going to see a repeat of the running back market from last year where running backs were not paid? They wanted big money. They didn't get big money. And they had to settle. Or do you think there is going to be an uptick in what running backs are paid this offseason as compared to last?
It's going to be worse. It's going to be lower. The first 4 running backs you read are washed. Tony Pollard.
Don't tell their fans that, Gene. They don't want to hear that.
Look, Tony Pollard walked into that situation as the number 1 running back with every opportunity to earn himself a ton of money. And he's not washed, but he's just not an every down back. And he proved that this year. Derrick Henry's definitely lost a step. Tajee Spears took a lot of snaps from him. Like a lot of those running back, and I think the one that sets the market is Saquon Barkley. And I think when he signs for 10 million or 11 million, people are like, oh, I thought he was going to get 15, 14. He's not going to. These teams are not going to overpay running backs that have such a short shelf life. Did you watch Austin Eckler play football last year?
Oh, it was terrible.
He looked terrible.
It was awful.
And I love Austin Eckler. I think he's a great guy. Gives back to the fans, big fantasy football guy. But he looked like he lost 3 steps. Not 1, 3. I don't think that the running back market will be set. I think it's going to get worse. I think you'll see the Bengals cut Joe Mixon and re-sign him for $4 million. I think that what you're going to see out of running backs is less and less pay, and you're going to be relying on drafting running backs a lot earlier, like Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, and running them for their first 4 or 5 years and taking advantage of that rookie contract. You're going to see that way more often. Veterans on 1-year contracts with high drafted running backs. That seems to be the plan.
Gene, what's happening on Wire to Wire tonight?
I cannot wait for tonight. Tonight we are having our big reveal of our newest bracket, and it's sports characters. And last week we revealed some of the 1 seeds. You got Shooter McGavin as a 1 seed, Rocky Balboa. There's definitely some real big, but any sports character, even Teddy KGB from, one of my favorite movies, Rounders. Can't wait to unveil that tonight. We're going to talk about that, and that'll be a lot of fun.
Fun fact, Shooter McGavin, played by Christopher McDonald. Christopher improved the Shooter gun pistols.
Shooter.
That
Real
was
quick,
not in the script.
Before I hop off, I want to make a point because it's probably a lot of it's going to come out now. I think the Washington Commanders are in love with Caleb. Daniels from LSU. I think Cliff Kingsbury, if you look at his career, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, I think it fits right as a glove. That's why New England is trying to trade back. They never wanted Drake May.
Hey, you heard it here first from the NFL genius himself. Gene, we'll see you next week, sir.
Thank you,
Gene.
I mean, Mo, he had the Falcons Justin Fields thing nailed from like October. I'm not going to sit here and say that prediction is off because he's been on this Justin Fields thing for months and months, and it's happening. It's literally trying to happen right now if you're the Atlanta Falcons. So you heard it first here on Coffee and Sports from the NFL Genius. Watch out for the Jaden situation. It could be real, Mo.
And I totally, it slipped my mind, but yeah, I can actually see them going after Jaden Daniels because of what he can do. So I get that. And he's a freakish athlete. I've heard, So I've heard a lot of scouts say their only concern with him is his size because he's slight of build. But to me, if that's your make or break issue, I'm not worried about that. You can bulk him up. He can put some weight on. If he's the raw talent that I see, it's worth it to go out and pursue that.
All right, Mo, close us out, sir.
Appreciate everybody in the chat. Thank you guys so much for joining Chris and I in the morning. Check out all the great content we have to offer for you at the Wire to Wire Network. Give us a listen, a like, a sub, and a follow. Check us out.
Big shout out today to Will from Sports Empire Network joining us, and Gene, the NFL genius himself, coming on to the show. Make sure you're here, same time, same place tomorrow morning. We're going to get more into the NBA as well as some NFL stuff. It's Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by Wire to Wire.